Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Power versus speed. Right hook versus left hook. Counterattacks versus pressure. These are the questions that the biggest boxing fight in the world right now raises.
This one fight mean more than 1,000 fights I've been in.
This man better be ready for war.
I think that's mainly what it is. To want to see who's the best, really.
I feel like it's the most truthful sport in the world. You can't lie. I mean, you can lie, but it's going to be exposed in the ring.
It's more than just a fight for me. It's for all of us.
Davis technique. Gervonta Davis is often positioned as a powerful knockout artist, but a boxer with just a powerful punch wouldn't be in a team with one of the greatest. Gervonta is a protege of Floyd Mayweather, and this is manifested not only in his lifestyle and clean record, but also in his fighting style. Davis is a counterpuncher who actively works in the second half of the fight, because for the first 5 or 6 rounds, he studies his opponents and sets traps. After the preparation is completed, he begins to work. And one of his best punches is the gazelle punch, a hook on the jump with which Joe Frazier knocked down Muhammad Ali, first time in his career. Roy Jones has repeatedly knocked out opponents with this blow. And also, the master of this technique is Gervonta's teacher, Floyd Mayweather. The Davis versus Macias fight is like a remake of the Mayweather versus Corrales fight. Both fighters built their game plan on a very fast jab, after which they stepped back and doing circles with their arm. This may seem like ordinary boasting during a fight or just a habit, but no. In this way, the fighters hypnotize the opponent with a slow movement of the arm. And as soon as the opponent follows this slow rhythm, instead of a jab, a hook lands. The jab was needed so the opponent tries to block or even worse to parry, which opens the chin for a hook. This is the main similarity with Floyd. Even though Davis is a knockout artist, he is first and foremost a smart boxer. He constantly studies his opponent and uses their weaknesses. Before the fight against Hector Luis Garcia, Gervonta behaved too relaxed and disrespectful. Many thought this would have a negative impact on the fight, but no. Apparently during his training camp, Davis noticed how wrong Garcia. But what about his opponent? Is Ryan Garcia just a fast fighter, or is there something more to him? Garcia's technique. When people talk about Ryan, they first think of speed. But the basis of his style is constant pressure. He constantly moves forward, throwing jabs, straights, and most importantly, left hooks to the head and body. And if the opponent is not willing to give up territory in the ring, we see fights like the one with Luke Campbell, where both fighters spent most of the fight in the center of the ring exchanging punches. However, just exchanging single shots or combinations with Ryan is foolish, because he will always be faster. But if you manage to land a series of attacks on Garcia, he will move back on a straight line. In classical boxing technique, this is considered incorrect. However, Ryan can afford to do this precisely because of his pressing. He always has at least half of the ring behind him, which allows him to retreat safely. But we're talking about individual cases in Garcia's career, as 90% of his fights look like his opponents are trying to run out of the ring. Javier Fortuna and then undefeated Emmanuel Tego ran from Ryan during the entire fight, hoping not to catch a left hook. Such powerful pressure and intimidation of opponents with his hand speed sets Garcia apart from other flat-footed boxers, making it difficult for opponents to take advantage of his technical gaps, such as limited mobility, lowered hands, and sometimes chin in the sky. As soon as the opponent tries to attack Garcia's weaknesses, he pulls out his main weapon. Ryan Garcia's main weapon is his left hook. And the most interesting thing is that this hook can land anywhere. Whether it's the head or the body, this weapon can knock out any opponent at any time, from any position. It's possibly the fastest left hook in the history of boxing. Garcia can throw it without any setup, and he's used it for most of his career. But when the time came to raise the level of his opposition, he needed to learn to hide his signature weapon, because every top fighter analyzes his technique and learns to predict and counter his left hook. If the hook is neutralized, Ryan actually becomes quite helpless. That's why he now throws whole combinations, a lot of feints, sacrifices damage, all for the sake of landing the left hook. The strangest example of landing the left hook against an opponent was in the fight against Luke Campbell. For Garcia, the main way to reach his opponent was the straight right, through which he tried to land the left hook. However, from the first round, it's clear how strangely he throws the straight right. He often does this with a raised chin and narrow stance. Garcia apparently knows that his straight right is not the best weapon, which is why he often hides it behind the jab, hook, and feints. Luke Campbell noticed this and caught him with perfect timing. Ryan, after his classic setup, which he had already done about 10 times before, tried to throw a straight right with a floating chin, and for this he paid with a very powerful knockdown. His chin, hand, and foot position were in a perfect spot for an overhand counterattack. It may seem that this knockdown is a mistake by Garcia, but the problem is that there's no other way. Yes, you heard it right. The straight right is very important to Ryan, namely a very powerful and charged straight right. Not for inflicting damage, but for feints. He relies heavily on the opponent respecting any movement of his right hand, to then use it as a feint for the left hook. For example, as seen here. When Ryan lands a powerful right straight, after which he throws a feint on the straight right and instead throws a left hook to the body. A hook that ultimately, brutally knocks out Luke Campbell. Throws a powerful straight to remind his opponent of his strength. Throws a straight just to land the left hook, but the opponent dives under it. A fast movement of the right hand, after which the left hook lands on the body, under which Campbell himself dove, enhancing the effect of the left hook. Prediction. If you have questions, you can go to my personal Instagram. Link in the description. The reason why this fight is so interesting is because both fighters are uncomfortable for each other. Ryan is good at pressuring and can KO Davis in the first 6 rounds, but his gaps in defense and predictable attack patterns open up a window for counterattacks. Davis will use this in the second half of the fight. Therefore, the prediction for this fight will not be like other fights. Garcia can win in the first half of the fight while Davis is still studying him. Davis is known to be a slow starter, and Garcia can take advantage of this. But starting from the midpoint of the fight, the initiative shifts to Tank's hands. Flaws in footwork and predictability of attacks are the perfect components for a counterattack knockout, especially considering the fact that Ryan has already been knocked down. What do you think about who will win this fight?